Good morning, everyone. My name is Elsa Caleb, and I'm from Branduin. Okay, let me now just share my screen to welcome you. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Elsa Caleb, as I said, from Branduin Business Services. Now, we represent and would actually assisted over 6,000 businesses, and they've benefited from the various programs that we offer, which has led to expansion and job creation. Branduin is a single source of support. We've made up of generalists and specialists, and that can be from marketing, sales, project management, bids, helping you with your bid writing, IT, accountancy, and finance, just to mention a few. Whatever you as a business owner needs for your business, we're actually here to help you. Our contracts are usually through third parties, as you see, through the local councils and chambers of commerce. They know the areas where the businesses need support, they identify the funding, and we deliver the relevant services that meets the needs of the businesses. We're all experienced business advisors who currently run our own businesses, and we've all gone through the due diligence process, and we know the landscape in which we're working in. Now, the Fit to Bid program is a program that's currently running in neighbouring boroughs and within Hounslow itself. And the program helps small businesses to understand the bidding process and what's required to gain access to the relevant contracts. Okay, our agenda today is really to focus on the business model. We're going to look at the strategy and innovation side of it. Introductions, I'll introduce myself in a bit more in a few minutes, but we'll be looking closely at the framework and using the business model as an example. Okay, and there'll be a section which will be over to you. Here, we're going to try and encourage you to develop your own bespoke business model strategy and actually assess your business model. We'll have a summary and a Q&A at the end. We're actually operating for an hour, so time may be restricted, but we'll try and enjoy it as we go along. Okay, I'm the workshop presenter today, and I actually do specialize in business development. I've supported a considerable amount of entrepreneurs. Okay, I think for me, the passion, it's all about improving effectiveness, productivity, and making sure you actually have results. Is to ensure that your bottom line increases all the time. In other words, you're making a profit. Okay, I've run my business for over 20 odd years, and I just love that one-to-one intimacy of working with the business and developing your unique opportunities to help you create value for money all the time. Okay, I've got 3 fellows, which has been an interesting journey. One, Royal Society of the Arts, I got for chairing for the Institute of Business Advisors, the Institute of Consulting, when I assisted with the merger of the Institute. And then I got an honorary fellow for working with small businesses through the SFEDI organisation. And I've enjoyed working for British Business Bank through the startup process and startup loans, and advisor to 3 secretaries of state for trade and industry. Okay, so the Fit to Bid. This is the process in which we like to work. In other words, to help you win more contracts. It's about engaging with procurement. It's about embracing it and not feeling threatened in any way by it. And if you're looking to grow your business, it's an ideal vehicle in which to do that. We do an assessment and help you to complete a questionnaire, and then you get a report at the end. It's about your bidding skills, identifying where you need additional help. We walk alongside you to help you do that. The sales enablement is a main focus in what we do, because we've got to make money, we've got to build your business, we've got to let you see the wider picture. And then we actually assist you with tender advice. So you become more confident in actually winning more bids and growing your business. Okay, so the business model canvas, this is where we begin. And you'll see the template. It consists of 9 key areas, or, some people, categorize it in a slightly different way. But the business model canvas It's ideal if you have a new idea, you've got something in place already and you wish to change it. It's an ideal tool that can use to evaluate where you are now and where you want to be by developing a realistic strategy. Now, the right side, which I've just highlighted, is to focus on the customer. This is the outward looking, okay? And the left side is focusing more on the business, okay? In other words, it's inward looking to prepare yourself for the changes that you want to make within the business. So what's interesting is whether it's outward or inward looking, they both meet around the value proposition. This is where the focus is around the values between your business and your customer. Okay. The business needs, we're going to look at the 4 lenses. We're going to look at it through four lenses. Okay. First of all, desirability. Do you have a product or service that's desirable to your customers? I mean, obviously you do because you've started, but you may think that you want to grow, you want to think of another product or service to add. So one of the questions is it desirable for your customers? There are times that you might see an experience or, you watch one of your competitors and you suddenly think, that's a good idea. But one thing I'll ask you straight out is, have you done the research? Have you tested the market? Do you know if there's a demand for what you want to offer? Numerous times people want to start or even create a new idea or a product or service because of a personal experience. Also, I usually hear, it must be a good idea because no one's done it before. You've got to ask yourself a question. That could be a reason why it hasn't been done. Okay, let's look at feasibility. Is it feasible? Do you have the skills and the experience, or even partnership, or even the use of technology to even make it all happen? Can you build it? Can you deliver it? Or even make it happen? The viability side, is it viable? Can you make enough money to cover your cost and still have, a profit at the end of it? Okay. Looking closely at the adaptability. Can you adapt what you offer to the needs of your customers? Can you compete? Here I would look closely at your unique selling proposition or a sustainable advantage. For example, you could invent something that the market really needs, then all of a sudden it takes off. I mean, I think of Zoom as a great example. The firm's sales in the last 3 months of 2020, I got to go there, were up 370% compared to the same period in 2019. That's hitting $882.5 million. What is interesting about the lenses, is that if you're a startup business, you could actually start, with 3 of the lenses, but you won't be able to survive for long. But for your business to be sustainable, you need to have all 4 lenses. Now, by this model, I'll help you to be able to go through from your gut-based to an evidence-based idea. So here again is the actual canvas. I'm just going to go through it in a slightly different way. I'm going to split it into 3 areas. Okay, let's look at the desirability, which is like the left-hand side of the canvas. Okay, customer segments. Okay, who are your customers? Yeah. Customer relationships. How will you relate with each customer group? How will you engage, interact with your customers to improve the customer experience online or even through emails? Your value proposition. What added value can you give to each target market? Think this through, because that could be the difference between what you offer and what your competition offers. In most cases, it's that added value. You going that extra mile that can really make the difference. It's how value delivered, experienced, and acquired. Okay, the channels How will you reach your customers? What vehicle would you use to reach your customers? Depending on the age group, some would prefer social media, but you need to know, which is best preferred. Don't just make the assumptions, actually research it. The feasibility, the key activities. What are your key activities? Be sure that you know what they are. Sometimes they can overlap. Make sure they're clear. What needs to be done or be put in place to ensure the business delivers? What do you really do? You've got payments, you've got platforms. Could it be even manufacturing or even the logistics? Okay, the key resources. What are the key resources you need to have in place to make things happen? Now, these resources can relate to human resources and staffing, vehicles, transportation, storage, even intellectual resources, intellectual property, copyrights, etc. Okay, and then we have the key partners. Who are your suppliers? Your associates, accountants. It could be who you have a relationship to enable your business to actually operate. And then you have the viability. This is, for me, I always try and say to my clients, you need at least 3 to 4 income streams coming into the business. That helps with cash flow. Okay, don't forget to calculate the costs. And as you and I know, we've got to aim to make a profit. Okay, we're going to just use Uber as an example. Okay, it's a multi-billion-pound business, you know that, and their entire business can be explained on one sheet of paper. Okay, now the grey shaded areas relate to the customers and the green areas relate to the drivers. So let's just go through this so that you can see what I'm talking about. So under the value propositions, they thought through the customers and how can they benefit the customers. So they developed a platform to connect the riders with the drivers. So in other words, anywhere, anytime, you can get a car. It's the easiest way around, low cost luxury, and they offer various levels of service. The green area allows the drivers to earn money when they want. Customer relationships. This has a clear rating system. What an ideal way to evaluate your business, because we know how important evaluation is. But if you can get that on a regular, instant basis, it's even more, better for you, especially if you want to make any changes. The channels. Now, this is interesting because both the customer and the driver uses the app to connect. Okay. And then, although they have 2 revenue streams, it's a very simple process. They charge for the miles, etc. When traveling to the airports and other priced areas, the price increases. For example, prime times and even weekends, the prices will vary. Okay. Looking closely at their key activities, it includes platform development and maintenance. It also includes the marketing and the ads. They hire drivers and they've got the key operations. Very simple process. The key resources, tech platforms, which is key. I think this business really is all around the technology. Okay, so I think that's where they plowed most of their money. You've got the driver network, the talented employees, and of course their brand. And this, as I say, they've spent a lot of money around this area, to keep on developing, their business. The key partners, the payment processors, they take money in different forms to accommodate, in some cases, different currencies. Their map technique is unique. It's critical to their success. You can actually see how far the car is where you are when you actually hire their services. Investors are key to the success of this business, especially to keep up with the demand. Okay, and the cost structure is also important. Okay, so as I said earlier, over to you. I'm going to help you develop your own bespoke business strategy. Okay, now you're aware of the 9 building blocks, which is what I've shown you on the canvas. Now you've got an average of, I'm going to give you about 1.5 minutes, maybe up to 2 minutes for each question that I want you to to focus on. If you haven't got a notebook, if you can grab one, that would be very useful. Or if you've got a blank canvas, that's equally just as good. In fact, it's better. But from a notebook point of view, just allow each page for each building block, because then you'll have 9 pages and it'll be clear as we go along. Okay, the guidelines for each building block will be on the screen. Follow the order of the slides, and let's assess your business model canvas at the end. Okay, so the first one, customer service, segment, sorry. Okay, our customers are precious. Ensure that you have a profitable customer may need to survive long term. Sometimes you may want a big customer and then you have small different customers to ensure that you've got that regular cash flow. So it's identifying who they are, whether or not they're business to business type customers, business to consumer, or even business to government. Be confident that you have a clear customer, got clear customer segments, and that they serve you comfortably and provide an excellent return for your money. Once you're clear, you'll be surprised at how easily you can service your customers well, especially if you take the time to get to know them. I know that a business that took time to ask their clients when their birthdays were. It's amazing how much work she's actually retained by repeat business, by sending a birthday card and a bunch of flowers on their birthdays or when they had something to celebrate. She worked out what was the best form of business retention that she could think through. And because of that, she keeps her customers longer. They refer her to new clients to her all the time. In other words, her referral system is powerful. So let's take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes, okay, for each question. So let me just, I'm going to kind of start the clock, so to speak. Okay, so you've got 2 minutes to answer these questions. Okay, here we go. For whom are we creating value? Who are your or our most important customers, our clients or users? Just take a minute now or 2 minutes now just to write those down. You can think through your current ones, yeah, which is great. But even more so, you can start planning ahead. Now, these could even be customers that have, a regular relationship, so they pay you on a monthly basis. Even a retainer, if you've got single individuals that you help. Could it be large contracts from government, local authorities, other businesses, local businesses, national businesses? So who are you creating value? And who are your most important customers, your clients? Okay, we're nearly there. Just jot those down on your notepad for now. Okay, you should be finishing off now, whilst we go on to the next section. Okay, so just be clear that you know who your customer segments are. Okay, right. Okay, value proposition. Now, one of the questions that I always ask my clients is, how can you add value to what you currently do? How can you make your customers feel more valued than they currently are? What value do we deliver to our customers? So which one of our customer problems are we helping to solve? Okay. What bundles of products and services are we offering to each segment? Now, these can be measured either through quantitative or qualitative. What must you do to get the job done? Whether it's risk reduction, cost reduction, design, brand. Okay. Just take some time to think that through. Okay. Everything has to be done to the customer's benefit. Let's take a couple of minutes now to look at the list on that list, the value creation, the newness, the performance, customization, the pricing. And also take some time just to read the questions through. Like I said earlier, what value do we deliver to the customer? Which one of the customer problems are we helping to solve? Which job are we helping the customers get done? Which customer needs are we satisfying? What bundles of products and services are we offering to each customer segment? Let me give you 2 minutes, starting now. Okay. I've just been reminded by Michael. Very nice, it's true. The value proposition should also include the client relationship. And you'll see later on as we go on how they do cross. Yeah, but this side, we're just looking, as I say, the value for the customer segment. Okay. Getting the job done. But thanks for that, Michael. Appreciate that. The concept of true value relates to the concept of reliability and validity. In other words, being real. What do we really need to focus on and develop to add value to our customers? Okay, just take the time to continue to, list your segments and outline how you get the job done. Is it price? Do you always reduce your costs to accommodate your customers? Is it about being accessible or the convenience? Okay, let's just move swiftly on. Okay. Let's look clearly at the revenue streams. Okay. What value are your customers willing to pay? Now, this could be transactional. It could be one-time customer payment, online sales. It could be recurring, such as subscriptions or contracts, retainer, as I've mentioned earlier. Could be a contract with specific payment terms. What value is each customer segment willing to pay? How would they prefer to pay? Yeah. And how much does each revenue stream contribute to the overall revenues in terms of percentages of the total? Okay. Now, I know that the customers are the heart of the business and the revenue stream are the arteries. Okay. So it's like, yeah, you do have to ensure that you look after your heart very well, but you need to ensure that the arteries are clear and straightforward, not blocked. So ask yourselves, what value do you add to your customer segment? And how much are they willing to pay? We've got 2 minutes now, again, just to go through this. Okay, so if you'd like to start now. What do your customers currently pay? What's your revenue model? What are your pricing tactics? Okay. I believe that each business needs, as I said earlier, if I haven't mentioned it in detail, 3 or 4 revenue streams to assist with the cash flow. I'll use an example of a bakery whilst you're writing. Now, a bakery can offer the baked goods. They can also offer training. And this training could be for groups or individuals. They could write a cookery book. They could do talks and demonstrations. Do you see the various income streams? And as I said earlier, it does actually assist with cash flow, which I think a lot of businesses, from time to time actually have challenges. Let's take our time to look at your various revenue streams. Let's see whether or not they need to change, or you need to add another service. Okay. But cash is king, as you know, and I think one of the main things is to ensure that you've always got money in the bank. Does that mean so you don't have to panic, when money doesn't come in, or somebody holds onto your invoice for longer than expected? Those little small local connections can also help, long term as well as the large contracts. So let's think through the revenue streams in detail. Okay, thanks very much. Let's move on. The channels. Okay, let me put the questions up. What channels do you use to communicate how you actually reach your customers? Is it your website, social media, or emails? I'm smiling because I was with a client yesterday, and his first introduction was, I'm actually doing very well with my business, but I could tell that something just wasn't right. And I said, okay, let me just have a quick look at your website. And even down to the recommendations was 2019, and I said, so why haven't you updated your website? And you're an IT specialist. Left him silent for a few minutes, but once we finished and got the conversation going, he realized how important it was to ensure that his website was up to date. He's supposed to be at the cutting edge of what he does. Yeah. So how do you reach your customers? Website, social media. Are you on top of the social media? Could you do a bit more? I suppose we can all do a bit more when it comes to social media. Are they the right channels? I mean, if you're using LinkedIn, do you need Facebook, or do you need Facebook and not LinkedIn? Well, I always say that all businesses need LinkedIn. It's just how you use it. But what about the other ones like Instagram and Twitter? Emails. Okay. So ask yourself these questions. Through which channels do your customer segments want to be reached? How are you reaching them at the moment? How are your channels integrated? Which one works best? Which ones are most cost effective? And how are we integrating with a customer routine? Let's give you 2 minutes now to go through that. Okay. Now, the owned direct channels, although they're good, they can be costly when they're put in place, but they can work out long term to be quite profitable. The partner indirect channels can earn less, but works well, especially for expansion. But just think through how you actually communicate, or with your business. I know a lot of people love the word of mouth, and it does work. It's reliable. But there are other channels that we can incorporate. And if you are using things like your website, how can you make it better? How can you ensure that you've got your clients' comments on your website, that they're up to date, so the dates are quite recent? What about videos? Can you not have conversations or a question and answer session with your clients so that they themselves can have videos on your website? Because videos are a more up-to-date form of communication. How can you keep abreast of technology to ensure that you're opening up the channels? Now that we're not restricted to just working in one area, we can go all around the world, with technology. How can you open up or suggest new channels for what you do? Could you reach more of your customer segments by adding another social media platform? Oh, all right, let's not forget the cost in all of what we're doing as well. So ensure that it is cost effective by making these changes. Okay, moving swiftly on to our customer relationships. Okay, Okay, you're working with your customers all the time. You've got, you want to retain them at the same time. But the questions asked, what type of relationships does each of your customer segments expect you to establish and maintain with them? Sometimes customers are for a short period of time. We get that. And it could be for a season. But then there's others that are continuous. You've got to establish new ones. I'd say perhaps every quarter you sit down and you work this out, but you've also got to maintain them as long as you can. Which ones can be established and retained? In other words, which customer segments can that happen to? Looking closely at the cost, how costly are they? And how are they integrated with the rest of the business model? Okay. All right, so let me give you 2 minutes now. And I'll talk through this as well. In some cases, some people try and retain their customers through loyalty cards, even discounts. How do you get them, your customers, how do you keep them? How do you continue to grow your customer relationships? And how do you actually relate with each customer group? And as you look at each customer group, and it's to engage them and keep them, interact with them at the same time, how can this improve their customer experience? Yeah. Is it just you just do the business and that's it? Or do you have, I don't know, every now and again, you touch base with them, try and get them on, have coffee over Zoom, have a talk, have a support mechanism. One of the recent programs that we've done under Branduin is a peer network, which has worked really well because within a particular area, some of the businesses of different backgrounds came together and were able to share experiences. And by doing that, as a business, that's opened up a lot more opportunities because there were people from the building industry, from charities, and also the small businesses that actually integrated with each other. And now I'm glad to say that through Branduin, a lot of them are actually doing joint collaborations and actually, to put together some strategic alliances. And that's just by having them together and them just sharing their experiences and helping each other. Okay, it costs time away from their business, but in the long run, it's actually benefited them because they've actually they know now how to relate with their customers in a better way, but also expand their business. Okay, so let's look at some of the key activities. Okay, and what is it that you actually do successfully? Okay, the questions: what key activities are required to deliver your value propositions, your distribution channels, your customer relationships, and your revenue streams? Bearing in mind the production and bearing in mind also you are actually solving a problem. Okay, so what platforms and networks do you belong to? How are you integrating that into the business? Okay, let's just spend, as I say, 2 minutes now just writing that down. Be clear as to your key activity or activities that you do within the business. If it's product-based, how can you expand that to include additional services? You are solving a problem. Never ever forget that. Can you take some of what you do onto a social platform? Or what you do on a social platform, can you put it onto a face-to-face networking or a Zoom platform? Do you need to even strengthen any of these key activities? Explore how to build it and deliver it, just to ensure that it's sustainable. I mean, at the moment, technology is key and it'll continue to grow. And for a lot of business who try and shun technology, I'm saying if you haven't embraced it now, I suggest you do because it's not going away. Incorporate it in your problem solving activities. I mean, consultancy now, I think, has had to make some of the major shifts, over the past couple of years. If you're a person that works solely by yourself, I would suggest that you start looking at trying to find associates, to put together joint initiatives and expand. If you're currently doing that at the moment, do it some more. And it could mean, instead of working south of England, why not, hook up to some businesses in the north? If you're doing that already, why not go international? If you're doing that already, why don't you try and see how you can be more sustainable? Long term. There's always another level that you can always work towards. Okay, number 7, our key resources. Okay, this is where you describe the most important assets that's required to make your actual business work. Okay, so what are key resources required for your value propositions? Okay, what resources do you need for your distribution channels, your customer relationships, even your revenue streams? Okay. Let me give you 2 minutes now, and I'll continue to talk through this just to give you a few more ideas. So what are the most important resources that you need to enable to offer the services and the products that you currently provide? Human resources. Okay. It's also looking at the financial side as well, your financial resources. In some cases, it could be vehicles, intellectual property. It's whether or not you actually lease equipment or you buy it outright. I know a trainer, what he did in his spare time was to actually invent quite a lot of different ways of assisting trainers to work more effectively. And he realized that, he'd done the intellectual property, copyright and everything else. And he's just realized he can actually sell the rights, and he's going to sell the rights for one of his inventions. He's just realized, just by selling one, not all of them, just one, he could actually retire gracefully. But what that does, it allows him, just by selling only one of the rights to his invention, that he can now think more creatively. He can take more risks, knowing that he's got that comfortable cushion by selling one of the inventions. Do you need to evaluate all your current resources? Maybe outsource some of them or reduce others. Could it be more cost effective to actually have a partner with different, I suppose, skills than yourselves? Okay, in other words, you complement each other, and then perhaps develop another section of the business. I know a woman that, and I've helped her, and I did this through Startup Loans, and she's a national, going international business. She makes cakes, but what she did, and it wouldn't take you long to actually find out who she is, she actually used the concept of Interflora and decided to connect with local cake makers around the country. And then she offers cakes on a local and a national level, just by integrating with people that just wanted and have a passion for making cakes. So as she's seen that expansion just by looking at the key resources, realizing she can't do it herself, but tap into people that are actually situated in different regional geographical locations, but continue to build a business. And she's doing very well, thank you. But don't forget to count the costs on this and have a clear plan, and just be confident that you're making the right decision. Okay. Key partners. Key partners, these are the building blocks that describe the network, your suppliers, your partners, key individuals that help you build the business. Who are your key partners? Who are your key suppliers? Which key resources are requiring from partners, and which key activities do your partners perform for you? And what's interesting, again, we've encouraged quite a few of our businesses to look at even their suppliers. If you can develop and continue to, well, okay, you're working with them, you're actually buying, whatever suppliers you're buying from them, but how can you even take that to the next level? so that you're actually working together. Let me give you 2 minutes now to actually jot down who your key partners are. Look at the type of networks that you belong to and see if you can actually develop additional opportunities. Now, you and I know that partnerships are key, especially now more than any other time. So as I mentioned, things like associates, how can you complement, each other's skills? Contractors, subcontractors, property developers, suppliers, as I said earlier, strengthen the relationship. Even though it's for a good reference, it could be worth developing. You never know. Business owners from different industries, they never seem to be a threat, but you could complement each other. What about investors and financial institutions? Take some time to actually even note down some of the key decision makers and see how you can develop strategic alliances. What strategic relationships can you actually build with your competitors? And consider some joint initiatives. I mean, look at Branduin. We're all business advisors, but we've come together strategically to actually build a good offering of which, people actually do benefit. I mean, back in the day, we'd be called a one-stop shop. But what it's done, it's enabled us to develop joint initiatives and at the same time grow our own businesses. It actually reduces the risk. That's some of the benefits that you could think through. Look at the economies of scale, the cost advantages from an internal point of view. Okay. What about the external economies of scale that benefits partners within the industry? Just think a bit more creative. Okay, now let's look at the cost structure itself. Okay, now this is where we, identify all the costs. Okay, here, the questions: what are the most important costs inherent in your business model? Which key resources are most expensive? And which key activities are also equally most expensive? Let's spend a couple of minutes now just to jot those down. Don't forget the cost structure attributes, which is your economies of scale, economies of scope, your fixed costs, your variable costs, those regular costs that incur every now and again. Okay, so take 2 minutes now to jot down these answers to these questions. Okay, so here we briefly cover the costs required to make the business operate. So about cost structure, be realistic when listing all your costs. And I'll even say to even include some of the hidden costs. Okay. Don't forget, we've got to try and keep some of these costs down. You maybe even be value driven. Focus on adding more value in the product itself at the lowest possible cost. And then don't forget, you've got that hybrid approach. The most cost-effective way of working now is the hybrid model. And most companies now have even given up those expensive offices. Yeah. And you could be also looking at ways that you can be launching new products and services, but looking at how you can now, I'm going to say, do business differently. So where you've had ideas in the past that you want to expand and you couldn't because you had an expensive asset. I mean, the rent of a large premises. Now you've given up the premises and you're working from home. That extra money can actually help you to think or even develop the business even further. But let's be realistic, as I said, about the costs that you're currently incurring. Get them on paper. Do this on a regular basis, because as you move forward, other costs are added. And sometimes you forget that you're paying them, because you may have it on a regular, direct debit or something. But take time to look at your cost structure. Okay. Let's just look at the social environment area, and that when bidding for contracts, it's becoming more and more, how can I say, important to include both the social and the environmental part of the business. Okay, and a lot of the organizations that are actually putting out these bids, they want to know what impact and what benefits your business actually, does in a local or in the local community. Okay, so you've got your commercial customers, and what impact does that have on the customers? And you see the list here, the social value, and you can see everything's listed, and it's quite straightforward: the diversity, inclusion, well-being, fair trade, carbon footprint, even the green energy, co-friendly, the reuse of materials, etc. As I say, the community engagement, whether or not that be on a regular basis or every now and again. Some people love to do those annual events. What positive change are you actually having within the community? Even your personal development. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to take some time now. I know this is not perhaps an area that you want to write down, but what impact and what benefits can your business bring to the environment and also on a social level? So when bidding for contracts, as I say, it's becoming more and more important to include how you demonstrate these. If you're not doing it already, it's something to consider. Get involved in perhaps other things that other companies are doing. Get those alliances and those partnerships going. And see, what you can do together, because, even from a publicity point of view, it raises your profile. Okay. And we talk about the various channels that you can actually integrate with your customers. I think this is an ideal way to expand your business if you're not doing it already. Don't feel that it's a hindrance and something that's going to detract you from what you're doing. It will actually add more value. In some cases, I know that we have our work hat on and our personal hat on, but from a personal point of view, even on a daily basis, when you may even want to consider fair trade, okay? On a personal level, you do your part at home when we actually separate all the, the products and stuff that we use to help the environment. So why not? I'm not saying bring all your rubbish to work, but what I'm saying is have an environmental policy within your business. Shout about it, put it in the social media platforms and let the people know what you're actually doing. As I say, from a social value, you've got a list here. If you're not doing it, as I say, consider one or two. Or even, as I say, you don't have to do it all yourself. Consider joint partnerships, working with others. Don't forget, by doing what you do, you will actually impact your customers. You have a better chance of winning a business if you can clearly demonstrate how you build social value within your business. It affects your business. What are you going to do, in other words, to give back to the community? Yeah. Now, the business model canvas. This is where we started, and I'm just going to show you and continue to encourage you in relation to the benefits of using this one pager. You don't need to do the old-fashioned, I call it old-fashioned business plans. It's because I've been doing it for years, and this is what I'm spending a lot of time on in the initial stages. And if people want funding, then we, revert back to the actual business plan. But don't forget, the blocks are interdependent. Okay, and so is your strategy. Okay, what this shows is that every building block depends on one another. In other words, they can't operate in isolation. Okay, the canvas helps you to evaluate your business and develop a strategy for your business. Okay, I say to my clients, do this every quarter. Okay, and it's as simple. I say it's as simple as you actually, how can I say, over 12 months on a personal level, we have to deal with the different seasons within your business. Every quarter, it's different again. Take time out to actually sit down and strategize. What can you do going forward? I mentioned earlier about the peer networking. And I know that when we met round about November, one of the colleagues who was in the building industry turned around and said, oh my goodness, we're going through a recession. Their industry was really suffering. So what we did, we took the concept and we said, okay, suppose we all really get hit by the recession. And you can see slowly how we're, perhaps moving into that area. Now those businesses sat down, did a business model strategy. They came back the next time we met and they said, I'll put everything in place just in case it happened. It may not be as bad as we may think it will be, or it could end up being worse. We don't know until we're actually going through it. But one that was good and what was clear was they've already sat down and they thought it through from their customer point of view, from the staffing point of view, for some of the services that they offer, what they could cut back on, what they could grow now that will help them to be more sustainable during that period. So I'm saying that, putting together a strategy such as this, you won't be wasting your time. Does that mean you could, as I say, look at all types of eventualities? If you do decide that, okay, I'm ready to sell my business, or I want to perhaps go into a franchise arrangement, sit down, do the strategy and see what you need to put in place now, and then work towards it for the future. So I'd say that this is an ideal way to, as I say, dream again, because the reason why you went into business was to dream, is to have a positive end, and whether or not that's to be rich, or whether or not to sell the business and retire lovely, or travel around the world, or whatever that may be, have a luxury car, a bigger house, or whatever, you planned it. But never stop planning, because when you start planning, that's when the business decides to more or less stay stale and then digress. So planning is key. It's something you need to do on a regular basis. Okay, so moving forward, we do have a program schedule here, and I want to say at this time that our next workshop, Designing Products and Services for Procurement, is, and it will be next week on the 9th of March at the same time. And not forgetting, on the 16th of March, we've also got the Circular Economy in Developing Key Partnerships. Each participant will be provided with an assessment of their bidding right skills, the knowledge and skills to implement the best practice standards. You have access to a confidential one-to-one tender advice session, and I'll talk about my colleague Charlie in a minute. And it will also assist to submit expressions of interest, complete a tender business model canvas, and looking very closely at that value proposition to engage with the procurement process. Okay. What we do like to also offer within the program is the one-to-one tender advice sessions. And I've got a couple of questions I've not been able to keep my my eye on. Just to say that, yes, the recordings will be available. And my colleague will explain where that will be, because I know it will be in a YouTube format, and we will send that out to you. Okay, but just running back to the one-to-one tender advice sessions, my colleague Charlie, who's currently skiing at the moment, which is great, but he'll be in touch to actually help you with expressions of interest to larger buyers in your sector. He'll help you to, as I say, identify the buyers and help you to grow. But I'll say to you, don't forget to book the one-to-ones. Okay, and when you do book the one-to-ones, we actually help you complete this action plan. So you're not actually, so I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, you're not just actually just sitting down with somebody and then you're walking away. You will actually get a detailed action card that will help you at the, the next 3 areas that you need to work on. And as I say, our friend Charlie will actually sit down with you on a one-to-one. The recordings will be available on the Hounslow Chamber YouTube channel from Friday, and you'll see that in the chat as well. But I just want to remind you that it's worth going over some of this again. And my colleague Nalza has just put the link in. So yeah, keep the link. And in there, we've got other recordings as well. Okay, we've got a couple of case studies here. A business based in West London, Ruth Lynn and Ian, who at the time our colleague Nalza met with them, there was just a straightforward business. Now they have grown tremendously. They found, and you can read this as I read it out, the workshops were informative, and a business mentor provided insightful practical advice, which contributed significantly to our business growth. If you run a small business, this program is highly recommended. One of the best decisions they made on behalf of the business. Okay, you'll see all the regular webinars, but don't forget it's that one-to-one advice that actually adds the edge. Another case study is with Sarah. Since attending Branduin's Fit to Bid program, we're more confident, enhance the skills and good knowledge, and have put processes in place to ensure we submit the best bid. We've benefited enormously from attending the skills workshop and the one-to-one tender advice sessions, and I look forward to participating in future programs. Okay, I've just been, and you can see from the chat that Charlie can also help with this, the business model canvas. So to summarize, okay, the business model canvas is a strategic management tool which can be used for visualizing, planning, or even reinventing your business activity. It's also very valuable, especially helps you to describe what you do in a creative way. It adds creative value. If you're not a creative person, this is an ideal way to become creative. Okay, the structure of the business model can be used to develop, adapt an idea, as I said earlier, also to launch new products. And by modifying the language of the business model canvas, we can transform it into an ideal canvas for any business sector. Okay, it's a starting point. Yep, it's a starting point to develop your business plan, your pitch deck, financial forecasts, secure investment, win contracts, and I would say grow your business. Don't forget, it's interactive. All 9 building blocks work with each other. Okay. As I say, we have, and yeah, what would be interesting if you just spend a couple of minutes now, I know that we're coming to an end, or when you finished, put down the next 3 actions you're going to do for your business. Okay, and it could be meet with Charlie, complete the business model canvas, and actually find another new source of income. I mean, just sit, at some point, sit down and decide. Okay, so I just want to say thank you on behalf of Branduin for actually assisting you and also sharing the business model canvas. Okay, so over to you, Lisa, let me stop sharing. From the chamber. Okay, thank you all.